Greetings programs, TRON FAQ here, and this video is about the recent rumor that's been making the rounds regarding a new TRON game being in the works. I made this video, in part, because I feel the gaming press has been a bit irresponsible in their reporting. The original source of this rumor appears to be, of all places, a site called Clash Music that published an interview on February 2nd, 2015, but it didn't get noticed by TRON fandom or the press until starting around February 11th. The interview is with Giorgio Moroder, and I probably just butchered that pronunciation, who, if you've never heard of him before, is a pioneer in synthesized music. Much like Wendy Carlos, who composed the soundtrack for the original TRON film. Moroder is famous for his, what I like to call synth pop, music from the 70s and 80s, and he created scores for many feature films. In the relevant section of the article he states, and I quote, "I'm going to meet Skrillex next week when I'm back. I'm doing the music for a game for Disney's Tron. We have about 5 themes, electronic stuff, and let's see if he's interested in remixing or reworking one of the songs." Unquote. I could say something regarding what I think of Disney wanting Moroder, and particularly Skrillex, to work on tracks for a TRON game, but I'll save that for another time. All I'll say is that Moroder is an idol of the duo Daft Punk, who composed the soundtrack to the TRON Legacy sequel, so that would help to explain his involvement in any TRON project. Now, where in Moroder's statement does he say that there's a new TRON game coming out? That's right, he doesn't. Yet everywhere you look on the internet, both fans and the gaming press are getting excited, with most of them assuming there's a new, big-budget AAA TRON game on the way. Is it possible that's what's going to happen? Sure, absolutely. The implication is there, but to report it as being fact when it was never explicitly stated, to me, is irresponsible reporting and clickbait journalism. So why don't I believe it's a new, big-budget TRON game like everyone thinks it is? Well, it's because Disney haven't announced another TRON sequel yet, as of the time I'm recording this. Disney simply wouldn't do a big-budget AAA TRON game unless it could tie that into the release of another TRON sequel. They wouldn't release a big-budget game out of the blue without being able to tap into the marketing buzz surrounding that sequel. If you want a perfect example of that in action, Disney owns Star Wars now, and the new Star Wars Battlefront game has had its release date timed to coincide with the release of the new Star Wars Episode 7 film later this year. The only way a new TRON game could be a bigger budget AAA title is if Disney has secretly greenlit another TRON sequel, and they haven't announced that yet. Then it would make sense for them to do that. Moroder does also state in the interview that he's accepted an offer to work on the soundtrack for a big budget film, but wouldn't name it, which could be that additional TRON sequel we've all been waiting for. But why would he mention a new TRON game if it was big budget and had to do with the sequel, and then clam up about another sequel? He would have already spilled the beans by mentioning the game. I could go on about some of the other theories I have, but the bottom line is that wouldn't really make sense. No, it makes far more sense that the game is going to be one of 4 possibilities. 1, it could be a low-budget mobile game. 2, it could be a low-budget free-to-play online game. 3, it could be an add-on for a game that's already released that has TRON content in it. 4, it could be about a game that's already been announced in the past that has TRON content but hasn't been released yet, so it's not completely new and previously unannounced. I wrote an article on my TRON 2.0 news site a couple of days after the news broke. I go into more detail there about these possibilities and what, exactly, the new TRON game could be. I'll put a link here in the video that you can click on, as well as put it in the description. But I'll state that the most likely possibility is the third one, namely, an expansion for Disney's Infinity that adds more TRON content. Even though Disney just released an update for Infinity that adds the characters Sam, Quora, a couple of new vehicles like the Light Cycle and Light Jet, etc., there's nothing stopping them from releasing even more TRON content for Infinity in the future, such as being part of the big Infinity 3.0 release that's upcoming. Somewhat less likely is a new mobile or free-to-play online game. I've heard suggestions from fans that it could be a game based on the Tron Uprising animated series, and that's certainly possible. But it could be almost anything really. Anything except a big-budget AAA title. Unless another Tron sequel has been greenlit and not announced yet. This is Tron FAQ, signing out.
End of line.